Hello, my name is James Martinez, and I'm going to share a story with you. Um, this is a story about God our Father and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, and about how I had an opportunity to meet with them, and within these experiences and these meetings, how I I broke Abu's temple in Egypt. It began back in 2003. And what I did is I started searching for answers to things that I wasn't aware of spiritually, things that were happening that I couldn't quite grasp. So I started looking more and more and more for insight and discernment. The experiences that I started having were otherworldly. I started meeting with angels. Um, they started telling me about things about myself, started helping me to come to a better understanding about who I was. Eventually, what that was leading to was a divine appointment. The story began about 2003, and back then I was living very wild. I had just finished a divorce. I was very caught up in self-destructive behavior, and around that time I did a lot of things that you probably normally wouldn't do. I did a lot of things wrong, and at the same time I was doing these things, I was searching for a way to better understand the things that were happening to me. I had a spiritual awakening, and in that spiritual awakening, I began seeing things that I couldn't explain. I started having encounters with angels. Um, as strange as this may sound, I actually met a genie also, and the genie asked me if I would like to meet other people, other spiritual beings, and I agreed to it. At first, I was a little uncertain, scared about the whole thing. I wasn't sure, but I was curious to know about how and what, and what all these things would lead to. Around that same time, I started finding out about the experiences. Uh, so I started being able to step away from my body and separate, and I started having encounters with being able to see things remotely. Like I could picture within my mind someplace within the world, and I could see it. So I started finding out about remote viewing. Um, Eventually, what this led to was an out-of-body astral projection kind of thing, where I could literally move to different places around the world, and then eventually it turned into an otherworldly kind of thing. But as these meetings began, I started battling demons. I had a lot of personal things going on inside of me that I wasn't aware of yet that were leading me in those wrong directions to do those things that you shouldn't do. I was basically caught up with self-destructive behavior, the kind of unrighteous things it talks about within the Bible that you're supposed to be aware of and stay away from. Well, as I was caught up within all that stuff, um, like I said, I was looking for a way out. And a lot of people suffered who were close to me, my family, I'm sorry, my friends, well, the people that I called friends, even my loved ones that I hold really dear to me. A lot of people suffered in the process because I was so fixated on myself and the things that I wanted to do. But I knew that there was a better part that I was looking for, and that was part of the driving force that led me to get through this thing. Um, but as I found these otherworldly encounters, I started meeting with extra-dimensional beings, literally otherworldly beings, the kinds of people or beings or spirits that are described of or sought after within what quantum theory is talking about within string theory. So I found literally different worlds, different dimensions, different places, and then I found the ability on how to get there. I found out how it works. Ultimately, it works through what we understand as a vortex. And there are vortices literally in every direction, horizontally, vertically. And it's like this great big matrix that we're all connected to every day. And what happens is, we step out of our body every night when we go to sleep to dream, and we find one and we take off someplace and we encounter other kinds of things that go on spiritually. And we take the sum of our actions, our thoughts, our emotions, everything that we're about, and we go there and we find resolution. Sometimes we meet with other people there. There's like a collective consciousness, but there's a collective place that we're all a part of. Well, I found these places, and the more I started searching for answers, and the more abilities started coming to light. The different angel encounters that I started having started shedding light on the kind of person that I was supposed to be, the kind of person that I was. they were also telling me about the things that would be happening in the future. So that was a little shocking for me to start hearing about the kind of person that I would one day become. But as these encounters led to greater things, over the course of about 4 or 5 years, they turned from supernatural to divine. And eventually what happened was I got called up by God our Father, and I got a chance to meet with the Creator himself. So I met with him, and as I met with him, he started to explain the kinds of things that I had gone through and what it took for me to be able to start to learn how to stay in his presence. I think a lot of people are challenged right now with their faith and their belief and their understandings. So this is a rather extraordinary experience to hear about, let alone to be a part of. It's still so much information. I'm hoping that those who hear this will understand that these are the kinds of insights that he's allowed for me to understand. And I'm sharing these things with you now because I'm hoping that you can better understand the person who I am thanks to him. As I got called up, I had literally got called up to his courtyard, and I began praying and giving him thanks in a whole nother way other than how I'd ever done before. And as I kneeled or sat up from a full submissive position, I was literally transported to his courtyard where I met with him and the seraphim angels. Now, as I was meeting with him in the attendants, we talked for hours about who I was, who I wasn't, who they thought or who I thought I was, and who they were hoping I would be. And we started talking about this extraordinary journey that would one day become. So as we started to move, God asked me to take a walk with him, and I took a walk with him. And he took me to amazing places. He took me off to the middle of the ocean. He took me off to a sunset. He started, becoming my friend, and he started sharing the kinds of things that I wasn't fully aware of at the time. He started teaching me about Jesus. He started teaching me about why he had come to the earth. I really didn't have an understanding of that. Now, I had faith and believe in Jesus, but I didn't understand what it was about. So he taught me about what that experience was about. And I understand now that my faith and belief in him was what allowed for my relationship with him, with God, to grow even further. So as we became friends, over the course of the next 3 years, he started teaching me how to let go of those old ways so that I could become this new person. And ultimately what he started doing was taking me up to his crystal palace. I started having visits with him up there. He started taking me to different heavens. I saw the first heaven and the second heaven and the third heaven. And over the next year or so, as we started having these experiences, he would literally come and take me from existence. And what we did is we got to literally transcend. And he took me to heaven, and he took me through these otherworldly encounters where I got a chance to become part of something extraordinary. And literally what happened, and this is part of the journey itself that I'm trying to share with everybody right now, is that I literally became one with God. And as I became one with him, and in this oneness is where we started to do all these different things. So in this journey, and I write about this journey in this book, Once Upon a Transcendent Realm. It's the first book, and the next book, second and third one, are on their way out right now. But on this transcendent journey, he literally takes me back to the beginning. And he showed me places that he had created before he made the world. I saw different creations. I saw otherworldly places. I saw beginning and endings of a lot of different places. Talking about traveling with God our Father and with Jesus Christ. And God had filled me with the Holy Spirit, with his Holy Spirit. And so literally the four of us together in this union were traveling through existence. Now I know how challenging that sounds, but he literally came and he took me in the flesh out of existence. I literally saw myself disappear like what they talk about in the rapture. Now I didn't see absolutely every single thing, but I saw a lot of different places that he took me to. He took me back for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. He told me one of the earliest stops that we stopped at was I got a chance to see civilization and creation and existence and how people lived back before they invented boats. So that was a very long time ago in terms of time. And I got a chance to see how people lived, starting from way back when, all the way up into the present. And what he showed me were just extraordinary things of how we've developed and how we've come to these places of being now. One of the most important stops on our visit, though, was Abu Simbel. and this is in Egypt, in ancient Egypt. And in fact, it was 3,280 years ago that we showed up there in actual time. For me, this happened about 3 years ago now. It was Thanksgiving night, 2011, and he came and took me out of existence, and we go back to the beginnings and we make this journey. So as we get to Abu Simbel, God our Father is on the left and Jesus Christ is on the right, and I'm there in the middle with both of them. And as we began talking, or actually as we began observing this experience, what happened was something inside of me kind of moved and jolted, and it caused something to go outwardly. And that in turn started to cause an earthquake. And the ground began to tremble, and as it happened, there was about 7 or 8 different people at the very front of the statue as it was being carved. And the second statue from the left, its head broke off, and then its torso and its body began to crumble. When these statues are about 50 foot tall, so in case you haven't seen this before, this is a very huge structure. And it broke in half, and it started to crumble to the ground, and the people ran out of the way, and we stayed for a few moments, just observing what had happened. And then after a few moments, we took off. We flew into another moment. And we just literally kept transcending through time. And we went on this incredible journey. And we were gone for about 2.5 months. And when it was all said and done, God takes me back up to his crystal palace. And we sit and we talk for a while. And he takes me all through his place. I see his throne room, and I see the rivers of the waters of life. And he takes me through this amazing journey. And at the very end of it all, he brings me back. And he brings me back at 11:30 p.m., the same time he took me on Thanksgiving night. I'll never forget it because we were listening to Mozart on the classical radio music station. And as we get back, we talk for a little while, for a few more days. And then afterwards, he tells me that they felt me there at the temple that night. And as we talked for a little bit about this, it didn't really register with me until a few months later. Because of what had happened, I went looking to see when and where this was. And that's when I discovered that it was Abu Simbel that had just broken and we affected it. And so this is one of those experiences that happened along our transcendent journey that is absolutely verifiable through this journey with God. And I'm telling you, it's by having faith in Jesus Christ that I've formed this relationship with God our Father that has brought these things to light. So this is part of the revelations of the things that we're bringing to light right now. And by no means that I do any of this. I'm simply letting you know that this is what God our Father is allowing for me to help deliver as part of the truth of existence. And I hope everybody comes to a better understanding of that. You know, there's a reason that we're all here, and there's a reason that we have experiences in life, and that we're meant to be doing these kinds of things every day with God our Father. So it's really up to us on accepting his word as truth and believing onto him and his promises that will allow for things like this to happen within life. So I'd like to invite you, and I'd like to thank you for listening, and I'd like to invite you to this journey. The book is called Once Upon a Transcendent Realm, but at the same time, it reveals these kinds of transcendent journeys where, you know, we go up to heaven and, you know, we go through existence and back to the beginning. In fact, you know, at the very end of this journey, God shared one more incredible, you know, sign, miracle that I think is very relevant. And at the end of this journey, he played a song that entirely depicted this incredible experience. And if you're a fan of Coldplay, I am, the song is called The Scientist. Well, he played the Scientist song for me at the end of this journey, and it described our entire journey, how I had just gone up to heaven to meet with him and apologize for some things that I'd gone through. And then as he came and took me out of existence, he took me back to the start, back to the beginning, and we started moving through existence. Anyhow, I invite you to listen to the song. It's called The Scientist by Coldplay. And at the same time, I'd like to say God bless you, and thank you so much for listening to this journey. And